Hey friends, welcome back. So in the last session, we deployed the JSON logger component to the exchange. So in this session, I'm going to configure the JSON logger component in any point studio application, and we see how to log the information and what kind of logs the JSON logger is going to generate. Okay. Now I'm opening my AnyPoint Studio. So I'm creating an application in AnyPoint Studio. And in this logger, I want to configure the JSON logger component. Right, I'm configuring a listener. I'm configuring at the default port and path as JS logger. Now I want to configure JSON logger. If you see JSON logger over here, okay, I already configured, already downloaded JSON logger. Maybe for you, JSON logger is by default is not available on the AnyPoint Studio. In that case, you need to search in the exchange and search for JSON logger in the exchange, and you need to add the JSON logger to the selected module, and you need to download to the AnyPoint Studio. So I already executed that step. So I'm JSON logger is available in AnyPoint Studio component palette. I'm configuring the JSON logger. See, if you see the JSON logger, this is the content is going to print, right? It sends if anything other than the JSON payload, it will print as a string. Stringify the non-JSON payload, and it can have the JSON non-JSON payload as a string. JSON payload is print as a JSON, right? This is the content is going to print, and what message we're going to print, and what is the configuration. Now let me do the configuration of JSON logger component. So here there are three: application name, application version, and environment. These three we need to configure. Now I'm configuring this thing mule.env. So these three things I need to configure in a property file, right? So meanwhile, just to copy this thing and put in a notepad so that it is useful to me. Let me configure. Let me create one property file or YAML file. File. I'm creating a simple properties file over here. App.properties. Finish. And I'm configuring these three properties. And here I'm viewing app name is JSON logger test. Anything JSON logger app. And version is 1.0, and environment is equal to test. Some properties are configured. So the JSON logger component in the JSON text, I'm giving as a Maybe it's not right. So what things we need to configure is we need to configure the these three properties: application name, version, and environment. These are three properties we need to configure in case of JSON logger component, and what message you want to produce, right? And we see the what is a trade trace point and priority we already see, and category already see in area, earlier sessions. And trace point means at what point in the flow we are in. Actually we are in the start by default. If you want to log the information before transformation or before HTTP request, after HTTP request, or before exception, so we can select a trace point according to our requirement, right? So as of now, I'm just putting as a start. This is very simple configuration. Now let me run this application. So my application got failed. Reason is I didn't configure the global properties. Let me configure global properties again. I did configure global properties. Properties, configure the properties, and the file you need to show is the mule app properties. Okay, so let me redeploy the application again. So this time my application got deployed. So let me test this application once. Let me open the Postman. Yeah. So in the Postman, I'm providing this as input, the JSON snippet as input, and I'm hitting this JSON URL. So let me see what log it is generated. So if you see the log, right, the correlation ID, I send the correlation ID as C123. Let me show you the correlation ID also in the headers. In the X correlation ID field, I'm sending as C123. So you can see the correlation ID in a more informatical way, right? Okay. So now message, what message you text message, and start is a trace point, and what is the content we, this is a content, right? This payload. Okay, you can see very information in more elaborate manner: application name, version, environment. So this standard structure will be printed. No, I just configure only the message. Rest of things, right? Rest of things got printed automatically. So we can enforce this kind of standard log structure from every developer. It's just developer responsibility as just to configure the message only. Rest of things will be automatically printed in the log statement, right? So that is the luxury this JSON logger component provides the development team. Now, let me see you. Let me show you one more thing. See the customer password. It is customer password. I don't want to log the customer password. I don't want to log the customer password in the log file, right? This sensitive information. I don't want to log this one. So what we can do is in the logger JSON logger component, content fields data masking. If you don't want, if you want to mask the fields, what we can do? We can mask the field names. So I want to mask the customer password, right? So payload dollar dot dot payload. What's the field name? Password. Payload dot password. Now it's deploying for a moment. It's deployed. Let me hit once again. So you see the log, right? So now the password got masked, right? You can't able to see the password. Okay, this is a feature in JSON logger also. This feature is not available in normal logger. If you want to mask the data, you can option to mask the data, right? And I don't want the content, this payload. I just want this information only, right? So in that case, you can also configure the JSON logger component so that the content won't be printed in the log. Okay, go to the JSON logger component and this here disable fields, right? The disable fields, I can give the field name. Let me copy the field name. What is the field name? The content. Okay, this one. You see the content is now not printing in the log, right? And you want to send this log to the Splunk. So you want to send the log to the Splunk. The story is same. The story doesn't change. Okay, go to the log4j XML file and you need to add this Splunk appender. So I have already configured in other project. Let me copy that configuration from the other project. Here log4j, and this is the Splunk HTTP appender. Copy this HTTP appender. It's in your appender section. Next, copy the appender reference. That's it. So let me restart this JSON log app again. My application got deployed. Now let me hit the data again. This time I change the customer. Yes, 456. Here the body, right? Okay. Yes. Five. And now test it. Now I want to enable this the content for a moment, because you can see the data in JSON. Okay, let me go to Splunk and see. Meanwhile, let me go to Splunk once. Host 8000. 15 minutes. Source as a mule Splunk token. This is a token I'm using. Right. See the mule Splunk token. You can able to see 34. Let me hit once again, right? And let me see this entry in the Splunk. See, C123. The customer is 456 345. Right, the customer 345, and we can able to search with the same correlation ID. If a transaction is spanning on different APIs, if you search the correlation ID, we can able to see that single transaction on or all layers in the Splunk, right? So this is the luxury the JSON logger component provides. right? I'm just logging only the test message, but I can able to see the payload. If you want, I can disable the payload, I can enable the payload, right? And I can have the all the information about at what time the log has happened, right? Let me show you the timestamp, at what time the log happened, and correlation ID and trace point, priority, all the information available. It is very useful for the support team to troubleshoot the issue. Thank you so much for enrolling this course. This is your last session. Thanks a lot. Please provide your valuable comments in the course and feedback so that I can improve this course. Thank you so much.